I'm Mike Justice. If you watched my last video, I pointed out how I used to eat like this, but I realized I couldn't out-train a bad diet. I did some research and discovered that this is how I should eat to get a better physique. I tried to eat like this every day, but I failed. I failed because it was too drastic of a change and it was too bland. Ideally, we want to be somewhere in the middle. I'm not encouraging you to eat fast food, but you have to start from somewhere. If you don't make this transition gradual, you're going to end up back to this anyway, with what's comfortable. I don't know which side of the spectrum you're on, so I'm going to assume here. You get up every morning and have breakfast on your way to work at a drive-thru. You have some type of value meal for lunch and pizza for dinner. And let's just say you eat candy and ice cream at will. That's the worst case scenario because all those foods I mentioned are extremely high in calories, but they're not nutrient dense. Let's look at the difference. Breakfast A has about 500 calories, but it's loaded with sugary carbohydrates. Breakfast B also has about 500 calories, but it has a lot of protein and fiber. Here's a good analogy. Your body's the vehicle, and this is the fuel. It can run on either type of gas, but it's going to run a lot better with the premium. In this video, we're going to stick to these bodybuilding staple foods, but I'm going to show you how to make them edible and enjoyable. Meal prep can be a challenge for anyone. If you're anything like me, sometimes it's impossible. So my challenge for you is simple. Just replace one meal at a time, you choose which one you want to try, and do that every day for a week. Then next week, try to replace 2 meals. And gradually start preparing every meal until eating out becomes the exception. In my last video, I discussed how difficult it was to eat plain oatmeal with eggs. Here's a way to spice this up without adding a ton of calories. Here's what you'll need. Once you have these items, heat up a medium-sized pan. Add a tablespoon of coconut oil and pour in a cup of bell pepper and onion medley. You can use fresh peppers for this, but I prefer the frozen ones because they're already chopped up and they last longer. Once the onions become slightly brown, stir in 2 eggs. Add salt and pepper. And once that's done, set it to the side to start the oatmeal. To start the oatmeal, pour a half a cup of coconut milk in a medium-sized pan. Add 3 teaspoons of ground cinnamon and stir over a medium heat. Take a half a cup of instant regular oatmeal and pour it into a bowl. Chop up a small apple. Try to keep the pieces about the same size. Drop those in the milk and stir. Raise the heat and bring that to a boil. This won't take long. Once that happens, pour it over the oatmeal. You're pretty much done. This is your nutritional content for this meal. Remember pitfall number 2. You must enjoy the meals you prepare. It's not about making the best choice, it's about making a better choice. In my last video I discussed how difficult it was to eat this plain, dry chicken with boring sweet potatoes. I'm going to show you how to make those sweet potatoes better later in this video. But for this recipe we're going to make that bland chicken bourbon style and add a simple Parmesan asparagus on the side. To get started, preheat the oven to 350. While that's warming up, prepare your chicken. Cut off any gristle or fat and cut the chicken into smaller pieces. This is time consuming, but it's worth it because it's going to cook quicker, taste better, and be easier to measure afterwards. Place the chicken in a lightly oiled pan and try not to overlap the pieces so it cooks evenly. Add some salt and pepper and top it off with about 6 tablespoons of bourbon chicken sauce. Once your oven's ready, put this in for about 35 minutes. Be sure to wash your hands after handling raw chicken, or any meat for that matter. Rinse the asparagus off and lay it to the side. Use 1 to 2 tablespoons of butter and microwave it for about 25 seconds. Lay the asparagus in a lightly oiled pan. Get the butter out of the microwave and brush it on. Add salt and pepper and a half a cup of Parmesan cheese. 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. When the chicken's done, take it out and set it to the side. Don't turn the oven off. Instead, set it to 400 for the asparagus. Once the oven's ready, put the asparagus in for 25 minutes. Once that's done, take it out. Count out 6 asparagus spears and weigh out 8 ounces of chicken. Remember pitfall number 3. We gotta measure out our serving sizes. This is your nutritional content, and this is what it should look like. I hope you enjoy it. For demonstration purposes, I cook these items separately, but you can save time by cooking them simultaneously. Just put your oven on 350 and cook them both for 35 minutes. In my last video, I discussed how difficult it was to eat tuna right out of the can. I found a much better way to prepare tuna. By adding a few simple ingredients, you can keep the convenience of this meal while adding a ton of flavor. Due to the mercury levels found in canned fish, I wouldn't recommend eating this more than once a week. Here's what you'll need. To get started, open up the can of tuna, drain it, and pour it into a bowl. Add a tablespoon of sweet relish and a tablespoon of mayo. Stir that up. Peel off 4 large pieces of the iceberg lettuce and lay them on a plate. Add the tuna as evenly as possible. Cut up the strawberries and do the same thing. And add a tablespoon of pecans. Roll these up and you're done. Here's your nutritional information for that meal. Even though you shouldn't eat this more than once a week, this is a great way to add variety to your meal plan. The best thing about this meal is that it's loaded in protein, good fat, and it's low in carbohydrates. Speaking of carbohydrates, remember those boring sweet potatoes? We're going to make these a lot better just by adding 3 ingredients. To get started, preheat your oven to 400 degrees. While that's warming up, put the sweet potatoes in some olive oil and place them in a lightly oiled pan. Put them in the oven, bake them for 45 minutes. Once they're ready, pull them out, stick them with a fork to make sure they're cooked all the way through, and let them cool for a few minutes. Add a tablespoon of butter and about 3 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. Remember pitfall number 4, we have to balance out our macros. I wouldn't recommend more than 1 of these a day. Preferably, eat it after a workout. Wrap the rest in foil and store them for later. In closing, remember the pitfalls. No matter how much you work out, you will not outtrain a bad diet. And pitfall number 2, you must enjoy the meals you prepare. Keep in mind, this is not a full day's worth of food, but it is enough to get you started toward a gradual lifestyle change. Pitfall number 3, not measuring serving sizes. Counting your macros is the best way to keep track of your calories and to get the most out of the meals you prepare. And finally, pitfall number 4, balancing out the macros properly. Remember my analogy from earlier, your body's the vehicle and food is the fuel? Balancing out your macros will give you the most benefit out of the meals you eat. Basically a better bang for your buck. Look at this comparison. Notice how meal number 1 has triple the amount of protein and less carbohydrates. Also keep in mind that the carbs coming from the donuts are derived from simple sugars and have no fiber. Meal number 1 has less sugar and 12 grams of fiber, which can improve your digestive health. For more information like this, workout tips, and new recipes, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.